It turned out to be a really good trip from a basketball standpoint. I thought we were able to see quite a few things. You know, the only thing that I demanded out of the guys was that they play hard and play together and work on our man-to-man defense. So they did that, and they did it in a terrific fashion, and we came out of there with nobody being injured. We had a great time culturally and socially, and it will be a trip that we all will remember. So with that, I'll just open it up for questions.
Craig, it looked like Angus did a lot of good things on the trip. Did you see him grow exponentially in that short time?
You know, that's a good way of putting it, but what you guys didn't see in the numbers, first of all, he had a great trip, fantastic trip. He's playing really well. But what these numbers and the blogs don't show is how unbelievably confident he is. I think he might end up being the biggest surprise on this team this season. He's like a monster we've created. We've been talking about confidence, and we've created a monster, and that's a good thing. So he's more vocal, he's more aggressive, and his overall play is augmented his leadership. So it was really fun to watch him.
Hey, Coach. Development of Roberto Nelson, he was the sixth man last year, but how do you see him, especially after playing pretty well over Europe, his role next year?
Yeah, I think Roberto has finally given himself over to our process. You know, when you're a really good player who's good at a lot of things, I think you tend to sort of try and manage the system your way. I think he's stopped doing that, and he's given himself over to us. That's a term that we use around here a lot. And I think once he did that, he's become a better overall player in the areas that he was weak at. He's a much better ball handler, he's a much better defender, and he gives us a constant effort now, not just when he thinks he needs to play hard. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in real games against real competition, but there was really nobody to match up against him when we were over there.
Craig, what does a trip like this do for team camaraderie and chemistry?
Yeah, Lindsay, I thought that our team had about as good a chemistry as it could have possibly had last year, and now that we've gone on this trip, I think this team chemistry is better than last year's. I think when you do a trip like this, and just so you know, this is my first trip like this, you find out a lot of things early on, and most of them are off the court things. And, you know, I put these guys in a lot of culturally difficult positions, and I shouldn't say difficult, but just new things for these guys to soak in, and I thought they did a wonderful job of paying attention, not whining, being intellectually inquisitive, and not getting on guys who are more inquisitive than others. So I guess what I'm saying, there was very little hazing of the guys who were interested in the cultural stuff. I think they were all equally respectful, and I think that made our team a lot closer. And you could see it on the court whenever we had any kind of tough times. I rarely had to say anything, and they sorted things out on their own, because I think they really care about each other and what each other thinks of themselves. Phil?
This was kind of like your first opportunity to see some of these incoming freshmen in a
Right.
game-type situation. Did anybody kind of impress you, and anything that maybe you didn't know they could do that you learned?
Yeah, all three of them impressed me a lot. I was reluctant to think that they were going to be able to help us much as freshmen, given the experience we have coming back on this team. All three of them are going to be able to help us in games, and the significance of that help is going to be completely correlated with how well they get into sort of college game shape. You know, none of our players have ever been in game shape this time of the year. Nobody ever is in basketball. Basketball players are notoriously bad at conditioning themselves. So these guys, by the end of the trip, were, you know, they were guarding guys. They were running the ball up the floor, and the freshmen were right along there with them. And you save for a couple of freshman-type mistakes, turnovers, things of that nature, I thought these guys were, they acquitted themselves extremely well. I think Jamal Reed, in particular, when he gets in shape, he's going to be something we've never had, like a real true small forward. Langston Morris Walker, I think that kid can defend 4 positions. I think he can defend 1 through 4, as long as the 4 is not a 7-footer or 6'10" type guy. If he's sort of your average 6'8", 6'7" to 6'9" inch power forward, I think he can defend there, and he can rebound. And then Victor Robbins showed us a lot. I mean, we thought he was going to be really good. We thought he was going to be really good. He's better than advertised, at least for our staff and for the few games we played. Now, he's going to have to do that against some really good competition early on, but we'll see. We'll see how he does. But right now, you know, I don't want to put any extra pressure on those guys, and I don't think we will have to, because we've got a veteran crew that's going to play ahead of them. But these guys will get some playing time.
Coach, kind of continuing on that line, how do you feel, or what did you learn about the depth in your rotation?
Yeah, that's. I think we'll be able to play 12 guys this year if we needed to. I don't think my rotation's going to be that deep, but you've got 12 guys competing for playing time, and that's always nice to have. You know, Daniel Gomez is probably the one he's still about 75%, but 75% of Daniel Gomez for 12 minutes a game is going to be just fine with me. And having the flexibility of having this kind of depth, I couldn't even try all of the different kinds of lineups I wanted to, because that, you know, to use the term exponentially, we didn't have time to do it.
The cultural stars of the team.
Yeah, oh, the cultural stars. Well, I think everybody was, because what we tried to do was we tried to find things that are interesting to 19 to 23-year-olds, you know, aside from all the women over there, because it seemed like if there could have been a museum of women, we wouldn't have any trouble getting the guys to go there. But we did a bike tour in Paris instead of doing the sort of walking around listening to guys tour. So that was fun, because you got to cover a lot more ground. And our tour guide was terrific, just very knowledgeable. And we wanted the tours to be more storytelling than sort of facts, and we had great tour guides, but I think the thing that really snared them on going to museums was when we went to the Salvador Dali Museum. And I don't know how many of you know Dali's work, but nothing is as it seems. That's sort of his deal. And for a bunch of 23-year-olds, when you show them a picture and then you have them look at it differently, and it's a completely different picture, and you have a couple of nudes in there, and you've got a couple of different things going on, it grabs their interest. And Dali has this one picture, one painting, that when you look at it in this huge room, you're about 150 feet away, it looks one way, and then when you take a picture of it with your iPad. Now, there was no iPads back when he painted this picture. You can see what the other picture is. That blew him away. That absolutely blew him away. And from then on, they were in the art museums trying to figure out what was going on that wasn't necessarily going on. So that made that museum fun for them. Aside from the fact that it was near the beach, and we went to the beach after that, so they were having fun at the beach. And then we went to the Prado Museum, which is, once again, another brilliant art museum. We didn't go to the Louvre. I mean, the Louvre is a little bit overwhelming for these guys. So what we did was we toured outside of it. Let me see, what else did we do? Oh man, the flamenco dancers. I don't know if you guys saw Daniel Jones on the video that we sent back of him and how they picked Daniel Jones. It was like they were on our team and they knew exactly the guy to pick. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic up there. And I thought that the guys, you know, I have to give myself a C- on my grade of expectations, because I was managing my expectations for the guys not enjoying the cultural stuff, and that I had to sort of like force feed them into it. Not this team. They were having a blast. They were engaged with the flamenco dancing. They were engaged on all the tours we did. They were engaged in the museum. So it made for a really nice trip, along with the fact that they played hard and played together.
Coach, you got to have the team together without Jared, and while Jared wasn't, really a ball hog, he was sort of the center of last year's team. How can you sense the team is developing without Jared?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you look at these sort of makeshift stats we got. We played 4 games. We had 82 assists. It's 20 a game. That's a lot of assists, especially in the summertime when guys are trying to work on their own stuff. So that was something that jumped out at me. And the other thing, and this was too small of a sample to really tell this, but we'll be able to tell this by the time we hit the conference. I don't want to jinx ourselves here, but I think we're going to be a better defending team losing our best defender, if you know what I mean. I sense that all of these guys realize what we lost in losing Jared, and have all tried to step up their game from a defensive standpoint. Now, right now, it's too early to tell, and people will hear this and they'll forget about it by the time we talk again in October, but I'm hoping that that's the case, because that's the initial feel that I got watching these 4 games and watching the practices we had before we left.
Speaking of Jared, before you left, you kind of said that you were looking for someone to replace his leadership part of it. Being in a foreign place, I know you probably didn't face much adversity, but just being away from home and that, did you see anybody kind of step up in that role?
Good, Phil. Good question once again, my friend. I did, and I was worried about it. Right now, our captains are Angus Brandt and Ahmad Starks. Those 2 did a terrific job sort of leading this team. I suspect that there might be somebody else who will sort of rise up and make it a sort of 3-man captaincy, but if it doesn't happen, that's okay, because those 2 guys are handling it just fine. And this was their first time, and Ahmad being young, it was a lot of experience to shoulder, but we've got a pretty veteran team, so the leadership just comes from everybody. And that's what I noticed with the term I'll use again, is the adversity we faced from the officiating, which you knew going in. We're the foreigners. They're not going to see us again. Their teams want to do well, and they've got to live there. And our guys just would not get baited into any kind of mess. And there was a lot of sort of soccer-type flopping going on, which reminds me, let me just, the biggest and most impressive thing we did was go to the Real Madrid FC Barcelona football match. That was by far the best cultural event we did, and I thought that was a throw-in. When we realized that game was being played, we wanted to see if we could get tickets. We were able to get tickets because everybody's on holiday. 91,000 people at a game at 10:30 at night, and there were little kids there. I mean, like 6, 7, 8-year-olds at the game. Easily the greatest sporting experience I've witnessed.